Hi, this is a guide to what you need to look after a corn snake, which if you're considering a first snake is probably what you're thinking about, or a ball python. This is the setup I have for my corn snake here. This is a bit bigger than you would need to begin with, but it's because Vesper, my corn, is full grown. This is a 3 foot by 1 foot enclosure. But when I first got him, he was in this little 2 foot one, which Hognose, which is hiding, now lives in. Hognoses aren't as big a snake, so that'll do it permanently. This has a lock on it, but that's more actually for the cats than the snake. You can keep you really just need a wedge for a snake in the door, but I have cats, I have a history of opening cupboards, so I got a little lock for it. There. This is Vesper. He's 3 years old. This is probably about as big as he's going to get. That's my hand for a bit of scale. It's my hand, not a mouse. Bear that in mind, little fella. Now, what you basically need for a corn snake is you need an enclosure, you need a heat mat, which will cover a third to a half of the enclosure, because you need a hot side and a cold side, because they can't regulate their body temperature. So they'll go onto the hot side for a bit if they're feeling cold, and go onto the cold side for a bit if they're feeling warm, obviously. And to control that, you need a thermostat, which is up here. And to keep an eye on it, get one of these, which is a little aquarium thermometers. They're good because they have a little probe, and you can hot glue it onto the mat and keep an eye on it, because the setting, the way the numbers are written on the thermostats can be a bit rough. You might need to tweak it a little bit to get to what you want to. Basically, for the heat mat, you want it to be 30 degrees on the hot side, and ambient room temperature will do on the other side, unless you have a house that is particularly hot or cold, but most folk hover about the 20-degree range. Also, because they like to go on the hot and cold side, you want to give them a hide on both sides. I'll give them a hide on the hot side, a hide on the cold side, and I try to put one that's kind of half and half on the heat mat, because they can go on it and move around, which was that tube I took out at the start of the video. Now, in this enclosure I've got a branch, which I found one that was a good size and screwed it in. Corn snakes don't need this, they're not a tree species, but if you put it in they'll have the odd climb, and why not give them something of interest to do. It makes them better to watch. The other thing you've got to remember, if you're putting any wood in, it can't be pine or cedar, because the oils in them are not good for snakes. They hurt their skin. Saying that little hide there I made out of a little tea box. I think that is pine, but before I put it in, I put about 8 coats of varnish in it, and it was old wood anyway, so there's no oil getting from that. And here's Vesper coming out to say hello. Vesper is, I believe, a male, by going by his tail. Never had them probed or anything to see if it's male or female, because I'm not breeding them. He is just a pet. I'd like maybe at some point to get into snake breeding down the line, but I'd probably start with my boa, because they're live breeders, and I don't have to do the thing of eggs first when I'm a beginner. There's Vespers coming out. Corn snakes are probably the #1 choice for a first snake. Close second is a ball python. The ball pythons are good because, although they don't get as long as a corn snake, they get a lot more heft around the body, so they look like a proper snake. They're a little bit less active than corn snakes maybe, which you may see as good or bad. They do less for you to watch, and they'll do less when you take them out, but you can have a ball python and sit in your lap when you're watching TV, and it'll just sit there. The other good thing about corn snakes for a beginner snake is because they've been the beginner snake, the most common one for years. You can get a lot of colour morphs, and they're not as dear as they are in other snakes, like ball pythons, for example. Vesper here is an anearistic, which means its red pigment is missing. So it's basically the same colours as your, let's get him back here, as your standard Carolina corn snake, but the red's missing. So he's this nice grey colour, but with the same kind of pattern. And that's basically it. They're really easy to keep. Feeding wise, they eat once a week, and that'll do for most of their lives. They start on pinkies, which are little newborn mice, and going up to small, medium, large mice. That's it. He's on large mice just now, and that's as big as he'll get, because as I said, he's full size. It's once a week. Thaw him out, give him a mouse to eat it, and that's it. We took the odd notion when they're not eating, and they won't eat for a few weeks up to a few months. Corn snakes aren't too bad for that as compared to other snakes, but they will do it, especially when it's around mating time, coming up to before it. They've just then they might find them start roaming about the cage a wee bit more and less inclined to eat. Now, there's some more good things to have in the cage. Water dish. Now, the way ideally for a water dish for a corn snake is to put one that's big enough for them to get into, because I like to do that sometimes. But some snakes, Vesper here included, has never shown any inclination to doing that. I had one that was big enough when I was little, it's just never got in it, so I've kept it to this one. If I see him trying to get in it at any point, I'll maybe get him a bigger one. You get stuff like this. It's the driftwood, which is mainly an ornament, but it does serve one important purpose. Is when the snake is shedding, they like to, we need to find somewhere to get a little catch in the start of their shed, like a little edge or something. So when I find a shed in there, sheds like these, it's always started on somewhere on the edge of the branch, on the edge of it. So if you have an enclosure that's totally bare, it's harder for them to get going in the shed, because they catch their mouth piece in the edge or something, and then they'll wiggle out of it, which we tend to do when you're not looking. But if you ever manage to catch them doing it, it's quite a cool sight. There's look elsewhere on my channel, there is one, I did manage to catch Vesper doing it once, and you can see him shedding. Also, for interest, there's another video on my channel. It says 3.5-month-old anearistic corn snake. That's Vesper when I just got him, and you can see there's quite a massive difference in size. Can hold his whole body in a couple of fingers there. He also, corn snakes are really not aggressive. Don't even well, I'm making generalisations. So this snake, some of them do, he doesn't really even strike at food. He has on one or two occasions, or when he's been in a funny mood, but basically he's cottoned on to the fact it's not alive, and he'll just go up and consume it. He's never struck at me or shown any aggression. He's just smart enough to tell the difference between a human and a mouse. And that's about it. They're incredibly easy pets. Mice are dirt cheap. You can get them in bulk and from little pet shops, or frozen, or which I used to do, but the little cool pet shop that was near me shut down. So I get them at Pets at Home now. The only good thing about Pets at Home one is they come in individual little sealed bags. So that's better if you're having to put them in the freezer with your other stuff, because you don't want dead mice touching your peas. Are you coming back out? That's about all you need to know. The main thing with enclosure, oh yeah, the rule for an enclosure is you want the length plus the side to be the size of the snake or more. If you have the snake for lengthwise and sidewise is longer than the enclosure, it's too small. The enclosures like this, the very exotic ones, they are good for when it's a display thing. People that's got more snakes, they use the the rubs, the very really useful boxes are rack systems, which are good for getting more into a small area, but you can't see them as much. These are pretty good, and a lot of places, for I think they abandoned or they got left with too many in this kind of crappy beige colour, so you can always get them a bit cheaper than the slightly nicer wood ones. But yeah, it's the same thing. It's made of the same material. It's just the melamine that's on it. Anything else I need to tell you about it? That's it. That's how we go about owning a corn snake. So, if you start them in a small enclosure, mind you'll need to move it up at some point, or which is actually, it's good to do. Sometimes, see, if you get a little small one and you put them in an enclosure that's too big, they can freak out a little bit. I think they like this security of having a own world. But this is Vesper's final enclosure, because as I say, this is about as big as he's going to get, and this will do him. And I've got it done up quite nice with the branches and stuff. Oh yeah, the stuff on the floor of the enclosure is aspen, which is a type of wood shaving. But as I said before with stuff, it's very important, do not buy pine or cedar wood shavings. Cedar's unlikely to come up. Most of your kind of cheap wood shavings, you see the stuff you get for hamsters and things in pet shops, that's pine. It is not good for snakes at all. Never use it. You don't need that type of thing in the bottom. You can put in just newspaper, because it's just basically catch when they defecate. But obviously it looks a bit nicer than having newspaper. But if you're in a rack system or something, newspaper's easier to go if you've got lots of things. Because this is a display one, I've got this type of thing. And that's having a corn snake. Great pets, easy snakes. I started with him, it was going to be my only snake, and then when I moved him into a bigger one, I thought, oh, I've got an empty tank now, and I got a hognose. Hognose only get to about 2 feet, so that enclosure there will do them forever. And then recently I've got a boa, and I built a big enclosure for it. Although it still lives in a little box inside it, because it's a baby. But you can pick up for that. Snakes are kind of addictive. Once you got one, you'll want more. But the perfect starting place is a corn snake. Or, as I say, a ball python. Ball pythons look cooler, but they do a bit less, so it depends what you like. Corn snakes are cheaper and you'll get better colours cheap. But ball python is a bit of a heftier snake. There we go. There's Vesper. And that is owning a corn snake. Bye bye.